Hey everybody, welcome to Spiritual Vitamins. I am here from Princeton Center for Yoga and Health, and I am here with my guru, Jeff Migdow. And Jeff has a long history, has been doing this for such a very long time, but he has changed so many lives. And Jeff, I just wanted to get to know you. How would you describe yourself?
Someone who loves nature, someone who enjoys being outside and moving. Since I was little, I loved being outside and moving, whether it was sports or hiking or whatever. Love cats, and get inspired and excited when I see people growing and opening in their lives.
So when did you get the call to do yoga? Like what sparked your interest? What led you on this path?
In college, late 60s, early 70s, hippies did exist. I was a hippie, and one of the things that we started exploring was Ram Dass's book, Be Here Now, and Allen Ginsberg had gone to India and came back with harmoniums and mala beads. It was pretty weird, but he was very excited. So we started exploring Indian philosophy and yoga. My best friend and I just walked into the first day of an Indian philosophy class. We hadn't even signed up for it. We just told the professor, we want to take your class. He said, fine. My best friend, who was a different school, he had Iyengar's yoga posture book, the first one that was in America. And he brought that over to me. He said, you have to read this book. This is better than anything we've ever done. So I started doing the shoulder stand series at my parents' house during a vacation, and it was just so blissful being in the shoulder stand. I got hooked on yoga right at that time. That was about 1971.
And I know that you ended up living at Kripalu. Did you do that right away, or what happened after college? You graduated, where'd you go?
College, read the Bhagavad Gita as part of the course and just loved the whole philosophy. So started exploring yoga more, started taking yoga classes in Chicago. That's where I was from. But I was on a track to get a PhD in clinical psychology. But my intuition said I should go to medical school because I could get in, which I really didn't want to do because I didn't believe in most of the treatments. But my intuition was very strong. So I applied for medical school and I was accepted. It was pretty tough the first few years, and then Yogi Desai, who was Swami Kripalu's disciple, came to Chicago, and he gave a weekend seminar on yoga and chanting, and I just loved the chanting so much, and just wanted to move in right away with a few of my friends, and I told them about what I was doing, and they strongly suggested that I finish medical school first. So 1976, I was drawn to move to Kripalu Ashram, but I didn't move in until 1980, so that was a very trying 4 years having to wait. And really what got me through was my yoga practice and meditation. Otherwise, I would have just dropped out of medical school, but in the end, I'm really glad that I stayed in. And then I moved in 1980 after I was ready to practice.
And what were your years at Kripalu like? Did you teach at that time, or were you just the doctor there? Not just the doctor, but what'd you do?
When I first moved there, I moved in. I had worked there for a while, and I thought I was just going to be on the maintenance team and work on roofs and things like that, because they didn't have a health department. But because I was moving in, they decided to have a health department. So I was the holistic physician at Kripalu from 1980 till around, I guess it was till 1990. And then in 1990, and I was also practicing medicine. I had a daughter. I was supporting her and her mom. So I had to be at Kripalu, work there, but also work in town as a holistic physician. Then again, I got a strong intuition to stop my medical practice and just teach programs, which again, I thought that was a horrible guidance, because I had to tell hundreds and hundreds of people I wasn't going to be their doctor anymore. But it was very strong, so I followed it. So in 1990, I joined the program department and started directing Kripalu Yoga teacher training in 1991. So I did that for 7 years, and then I was the head of all Kripalu Yoga for 2 or 3 years, which was a pretty interesting job. I met so many interesting people. So my last years at Kripalu were totally focused on yoga and yoga programs and training teachers. Yeah.
When did you travel to India? Because I know that you have gone to India. Have you been there many times? Like, where'd you go?
Traveled there 3 or 4 times. First time was in the early 80s. We traveled all over Bombay, Delhi, Pune, Taivarohan, which is where Swami Kripalu's beautiful, beautiful temple is. That's where he did his sadhana all those years. We mainly met with different gurus and swamis. We went to the eastern part on the ocean near Pondicherry and met this Swami who introduced us to yogis who lived in caves. They've been living there for decades. We met Gandhi's physician who spent 3 hours telling us all these stories of Gandhi and running away from the British. So met so many interesting people and learned so much about yoga. And then went back in the late 80s, including Nepal and different temples we went to in different ashrams. And it was very hard. I just wanted to stay in India, one of those ashrams. It was very hard not to stay. Then again, in the early 90s, we traveled to different parts also. So I've met lots and lots of gurus and teachers and fake gurus and fake teachers and picked up a lot of information and experience from those trips there. Yeah. It was a month each time, but it felt like years.
That is awesome. And, I'm a student of yours and I took the 200-hour prana yoga teacher training. So how did you develop prana yoga teacher training? Was it from all of your years in India? Like, how did that develop?
Exactly. So I had directed Kripalu Yoga teacher training all those years. And then Kripalu changed their format. They stopped being an ashram. They became a health center. Um, they started hiring people and they only wanted full-time people, and I couldn't be full-time because I still had to work as a holistic doctor. So just at that time, Sandy Levine, bless her soul, who just passed away, she was the head of programs at the Open Center in New York, and she really wanted to take a teacher training with me. And she said, since I wasn't doing it anymore, I should develop a teacher training to teach at the Open Center. And I told her that I didn't know if I could do that, develop a teacher training. And she said, well, you have to, because I want to take teacher training from you. So I just went inside meditating on my intuition, and often Swami Kripalu will come to me. And prana yoga felt like the best term because the whole idea of yoga is, which I learned in India, was to connect to the spiritual energy, the divine energy, which is the prana. So prana yoga is a way. And in India, I learned about using the chakra sounds in the postures. And then Yogi Hari, who was a yogi in Florida, did a lot of pranayama and postures. So I took everything I'd learned that really worked for me, the pranayama and sounds, where I could really feel the energy more, plus all the anatomy and physiology I'd learned in medical school also. So put it all together. One spring day, I was sitting outside, made a grid, 200-hour course, how many hours this, how many hours that, and sent it to the Open Center, and Sandy Levine said, okay, that's great, you can start. So I taught prana yoga there from 1997 to 2014. So that was a long time, and then moved it to the Princeton Center for Yoga and Health for the last 5 years, which I really love teaching there. It's such a beautiful studio and beautiful grounds.
Well, thank you. I of course am very new to the studio as an owner, but I've been coming here for a long time, and Deborah Metzger is responsible for building such a beautiful place. But you have a long history with Deborah. She was also your student, and she's just a fabulous person. And without her, we wouldn't have Princeton Center for Yoga and Health, or a lot of the prana yogis that we have here, which is great. But I want to talk more about prana yoga only because it's so unique. I don't know of any other program that does what your program does. I mean, the connection to the chakras, learning more about that, going more in depth, paying attention to the Bhagavad Gita, the Yoga Sutras. just everything like that. It's so rich and so diverse, and you come away with so much information.
Mhm.
But you also come away transformed, which is not always normal in a yoga teacher training. And I think part of that transformation is because it's chronic, right? So we go in. Why don't you explain it? You probably do it better than I can.
Kripalu, the main idea was from Swami Kripalu and Amrit Desai was to um, do yoga postures in a very structurally safe way. The directors would constantly get together to find the safest structural way to go into the postures, but then let go into the flow of the prana so that in the end the prana would actually be moving you. It's called the posture flow. So I got that from Kripalu. I love the scriptures a lot, and Kripalu was a month-long program, so lots of people had personal transformation, but lots of people didn't necessarily teach when they left, because after they got back after the month, it was such an intense experience. They sort of were more with the personal transformation than the yoga teacher training part. So to create a balance, decided to do it one weekend a month, so that way people could integrate the transformation. We cover one chakra each month, and people focus on it, so that month by month people are going through these internal changes, but you can integrate it in your day-to-day life. That's what we really like about it. So the combination of feeling the energy in the body, chanting the chakra sounds to bring in the energy, and then Preeti Robin Ross, who I taught with for years, we were talking, and we felt like yoga is a very narcissistic practice because people do it for themselves and be enlightened or something like that. So we felt there has to be a way where you not only take in the energy, which is the chakra sounds, but you give the energy back, which is the vowel sounds, which you got from Anodea Judith's book on the chakras. So in Prana Yoga, we bring energy in with the chakra sounds, but then we give energy back to the universe with the vowel sounds. So it's a nice exchange. And that's when you really feel the energy moving. And then focusing on chakra and the yamas and niyamas from the Yoga Sutras every month allows to people to go through an internal transformative process at the same time. So at the end, not only are people really good yoga teachers, but people feel so much different than when they started the process. Yeah.
I can say that I am. Uh, it was such a gift for me that that transformation. I was not expecting it, and it came, and it was just such a gift. And I don't think I would have gotten that anywhere else. And you're a gift. Like, you come with so much history. It's you've been to India several times. You've written a book. What was the book that you wrote?
A couple books. One was called, initially it was called Take a Deep Breath. And the man who produced Marsha McLuhan's book, The Medium is a Massage, which was a pretty famous book about how if you watch TV, it's not the shows you watch, just the fact you're watching TV is going to change your consciousness. So we talked and we felt breathing was really important. So co-authored a book with James Lair, who was one of the Olympic athletes coaches, and used breathing for them. And just using basic breathing techniques in day-to-day life, like what to do when you're standing in line, or a bill comes that's too high, or there's stress in your family, or just exercising, good for working out, for yoga, just a number of breathing techniques, the physiology of it. And we were really excited about the book. It sold some copies, actually sold more in Japan. The Japanese liked it and they translated it into Japanese. It was called Breathing Power there, which was a good title. I think it sold about 50,000 copies. And then the book was taken over and it was changed to called Breathe In, Breathe Out. So that's the one book. And the other book I helped out with was my friend Sierra Bender wrote a book called Goddess to the Core, which is about women's empowerment. So I wrote some sections in there. Not that I'm a woman, but I've worked with so many women in my practice. I could give a male perspective on women empowering themselves. And so the writing process has been very nice, and doing workshops. I love doing workshops, whatever the workshop might be on, especially connecting the practice of yoga and the energy body with physiology and day-to-day life. Always try to bring it back to how can we grow and move deeper and feel more vital and healthy in our day-to-day life. I mean, that would be the main point of any workshop.
That's awesome. And you're very good and you're very powerful. And you know, I definitely recommend anybody coming to you. I know I've referred people to you and they're just so happy that they have got.
So I do Reiki. So being a Reiki Master, that goes perfectly along because I'm also working in the energy body in my energy work when I work with clients. And then that gives me ideas and experiences that I can bring into the yoga training and the yoga courses. So they mesh really, really well.
And you're going to do it now. You've built this 300-hour with really magnificent teachers. Do you want to tell us a little bit about 300-hour? What makes it a little bit different than the 200?
Sure. So it's an advanced training course that Deborah Metzger, she was very strong about wanting me to create something like that. I felt like it would be way too overwhelming to be directing two trainings at once. And then I realized, oh, I could share the training with these awesome teachers, 5 women who are incredible yogis and have taught courses and advanced trainings on their own. And we came together and we came up with a beautiful 300-hour training, again, 1 weekend a month, where people can go deeper into learning how to teach meditation or pranayama, yoga nidra, chair yoga. Like every weekend is a different topic that you can learn and then practice during the month and then come back and show what you've learned. So for anybody who is a certified yoga teacher or even a yoga teacher who's really wanting to grow in their own teaching experience, it's just an incredible course to be in because not only are the topics wonderful, but then you'd be learning the styles of 6 different teachers that you could pick up ideas and tips from all of them. So yeah, I'm really, really encouraging all the people I know to consider jumping in with us in this. It's this wonderful yoga experience at the Yoga Center.
Yeah, and so far the feedback has been really positive about the anticipation for it. And due to COVID, but it's sort of a gift in a way that we're doing this hybrid training. So we have, thankfully, we have the technology now to do a training that is both streaming live, where you can, be on Zoom in the class that is also happening live. So you can come in person or you can Zoom in, and nothing's pre-recorded, so you're getting that richness of the training. Because I know that when I take courses online that are pre-recorded, my brain goes elsewhere. I'm not made for that. So it's awesome that you get to go into these classes and you're live, so you're interacting with the students at the same time. So do you want to add that?
A few weeks ago, and we had people that were both inside and outside, which was wonderful. We had people who were live and people who were on Zoom. Inside, they were like in the back row, and outside, they were right there. And everybody had a wonderful experience. Plus, the last half of the last 200-hour yoga teacher training had to be on Zoom also, including people to practice teach. And it just went wonderfully. People just had such a beautiful experience. So I'm feeling good because for both the 200-hour basic training and 300-hour advanced, as many people who can come in person is great, but if people don't feel comfortable coming or they live out of town, they can get all the information in real time on Zoom. And we'll be teaching how to teach a normal yoga class, but also Zoom yoga class too, because now we have that experience. So when people graduate, they'll have those experiences. Plus, the nice thing about the trainings is we take the big group and break it up into smaller groups of 4 or 5 people. So you have your support group that you can be with for the whole year, and people create such wonderful friendships that way.
So very true. So very true. So we're really looking forward to it, and we can't wait. They both start in October. There's lots of discounts going on right now, which is great if you register early. But we can't wait to kick it off. Sorry, go ahead.
We have those free intros in September.
Oh yeah, the free intros are in September. We have some great workshops coming up as well. And you're pretty much always here, so that's really nice because we get to have you in house. And I know you do. You see patients here in the yoga center, right? When you
Um, uh, it used to be 1 weekend a month. Now it'll be 2 weekends a month. So when I come working around that, I see people for holistic consults, working with homeopathy and herbs, and do Reiki training. And also, since I'm a Reiki Master, I can attune people who are interested so they can do Reiki on themselves and others. So we set that up too, and that's a nice connection because it's all related: homeopathy, Reiki, prana yoga. It's all related to strengthening and balancing our energy body so that our physical body can be healthier and more vital. And the bonus with the yoga teacher training is then you can go out and teach other people yoga and get that wonderful experience of inspiring other people to yoga.
and what would you, as not only a yoga teacher, but as a doctor nowadays with COVID and dealing with just that additional pressure and stress, what are two things that you would tell somebody to how to keep healthy and calm throughout this time?
Probably say, yeah, a couple of things. One is definitely take a minute or two every hour or two and stop and breathe. Do some nice yoga breathing because we can't be tense and breathe deeply at the same time. So it puts us right into the relaxation response. So that would be a key thing, using the breath every hour or two just to stop, stretch, and breathe. Taking walks in nature, getting fresh air and sunshine as much as possible. People have really isolated themselves inside. You even see people driving their car with their masks on, so they're not getting oxygen, they're rebreathing carbon dioxide. So definitely going out and getting fresh air with enough space so you feel comfortable. But doing that, and as much as possible, avoiding stimulants like caffeine and sugar because it's such an anxious time already. Like nobody out there at all can make the excuse, oh, I have to drink a cup of coffee because they feel sort of dull. Everybody's a little hyped up. So um, healthy diet, being out in nature, and doing some breathing and yoga every day would help everybody on the planet. Definitely.
That's excellent. And again, I just want to express how special that you are and that you just an absolute gift and treasure you are. As you know, in the United States, there are very few people that are Jeff Migdow. In fact, there's only one Jeff Migdow, but there's very few people with your history and your experience, and you're a doctor, and you just, I can go on, and we're just so very grateful to have you here at Princeton Center for Yoga and Health. And we love you, and I appreciate you doing this interview with me. So, do you want to close it out with a long Om with me?
I wanted to say, close with an Om. Fortunately, my connection with Swami Kripalu, who comes to me often in meditation, has really reinforced me following my intuition when I can't, and almost everything that's been important to me. Getting into yoga, going to medical school when I didn't want to, so I could be a doctor, moving into Kripalu, um, stopping medicine for a while to start directing yoga teacher training, um, being in the relationship and marriage I'm in and family, like always following intuition with things that seem pretty scary. So I guess my best advice to people would be doing things to help yourself be more relaxed and clear so your intuition can come through. And then following that will really lead you into a really incredible, magical life. And then to reinforce that, um, chanting the sound that contains all sounds, the sound of all. So
I needed to hear that, by the way. So thank you for saying that. But I'm sure you know that we work together very closely. So you know me very well. But do you want to lead us in a sound of Om?
Definitely. Yeah, and I love you a lot too, Jody.
I love you very much.
Let's draw in a breath. Close our eyes for a minute. Take 2 deep breaths just to relax the body, quiet the mind. Affirming to stay relaxed, quiet the mind so our intuitive self can come through. The wisdom from the Divine Mother, your own breath and chant the sound of it. Oh. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace. Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you so much, Jeff. And I can't wait to show everybody this video.